The engine is starting up. 3, 2, 1.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us?
Putting a dip in your hip, a glide in your stride. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe, with shows throughout the week. Everything you want, everything you could need. From the paranormal to the supernatural, from the spiritual to the unknown, from emotions to comedy. You can find us at Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and so much more. This is Rift Nation Network, the RNN. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
Sensitive/offensive content disclaimer. Please note that this podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Come on in. Welcome to Mysteries Beyond the Scenes. We are streaming live on the Rift Nation Network on this lovely Wednesday evening, live on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. How's everybody doing? Welcome, friends, for another true crime, where astrology meets true crime. We're back. It just seems so funny. January, we were off for 2 weeks. 2 weeks for the holiday. Actually, 3 weeks. So it feels good to get back in the groove of things, get the holidays behind us, move forward in 2025. I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome, Tammy and Denise, Marie, Miss Lee, Linda. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope y'all are doing well. It's kind of like the halfway point before the weekend, Mysteries. It's kind of nice. I love Wednesday nights. You know, we were on for Mondays for a while, but I really prefer Wednesdays. I love Wednesdays. Wait till you guys, I don't know if you guys have heard about this case. I know last week we talked about Michelle's case. And that basically, Michelle was a search and rescue for the father and a friend and a little boy down in her area where they found it was a boat, and a missing little 7-year-old boy is still missing down in the Gulf. I'll map it, Michelle. I don't know if that'll help, but just kind of throughout the decades of doing search and rescue stuff and working with those teams, and Tammy can attest to this. I shouldn't say this, I hate to say this, but when someone is lost or put in the salt water, the search and rescue teams are basically looking for teeth. And I know that's gross, and I know it's horrible to say, but things they just do kind of don't, or not preserved. And so I just wish they would find that young man for his mom. She lost her husband and her son. It's tragic story, but I'll map it, and we'll see. I know there's nothing. They didn't suggest there was anything shady about the boat, or it was an accident apparently. Just very, very sad, very sad. And they found the life jackets on the boat. And so it's like, what? They found the life jacket. Must have been a very quick accident. Something weird happened out there on that water. They were out fishing or shrimping. So that was Michelle's case. But I've been wanting to talk to you guys about this particular case because of the fact it occurred in Kentucky in the fall. And it just seemed like we had so many cases in the fall, back-to-back cases, that this case kind of went under my radar. It shouldn't have, because it happened in Kentucky, fairly close, and in a judge's chambers. And it's just a very sad. This is one of the saddest cases you guys will hear about. It's still a little bit odd, and we're going to have to, I'm going to watch this trial. This trial will be on camera. So I think we can all, we'll all be able to tune in YouTube Live for true crime, channels that stream trials. I know they'll maybe is it Law and Crime Network? They might stream it. I know it'll get streamed. JLR will probably stream it. And if you have been wanting information on the California fires, JLR Investigates has been covering the Cali fires like crazy. Every time somebody is arrested for arson, JLR is on it. He is on this like nobody's business. He's better than any reporter down on boots on the ground. So if you want information, tune into him daily, because there is so much information that's coming out about these fires. It's a little sus to me, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. I was going to do the charts and put up Lahaina with California, because there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of things that occurred. Now we found out today in the California fires, and all of this is just being released, that a lot of they knew that these particularly dangerous situation, NOAA had told them about it. We get that too in a tornado belt, that when there is a particularly dangerous situation, you better take cover. You better get in your bathroom. You better get in your basement, because this is a tornado that's for real. And so they did that for the fires. The mayor knew about this, but yet she still took off and went to Africa. In addition to that, they were not prepared. They had told certain fire trucks to basically stand down. And then, of course, we all know that when they got to the Palisades fire, 80 fire hydrants were not in working order. And when they did get to a fire hydrant, there was no water. Come to find out, the reservoir is empty. So there's a lot of really weird things happening with the California fires that we need to keep an eye on. We really need to keep an eye on that. But stay tuned with JLR, because he's really on top of it. He's doing a lot of the legwork, and I trust his reporting skills. He does good investigative work. And I think so far there have been 4, possibly 5 arsonists arrested. I think 4 or 5, maybe. I'm not sure. Oh yeah. Oh yes, yes. Correct. That's correct, Keith. And also, they had donated trucks and ambulances to Ukraine. Yes. I mean, there's a lot of things, true crime, of course, we do like conspiracies and we do think a lot about, conspiracy things, but we also look at all the facts. We don't take anybody's word for it. We dig and look ourselves. So here's Michelle. Well, there were about 6 fires at one time, Michelle. The one fire that the ATF is looking at, the Palisades fire that took out Pacific Palisades, they believe, they're not sure, that this was ignited on New Year's Eve by fireworks. And they went up there, and apparently that, those fires can come back up, and that may have been what happened there. But they have caught people with, there's a lot of suspicious things about it. They also stopped units from other states because they didn't meet California's admission standards. Correct. But they flew in fire guys from Mexico without equipment. Yeah, there's tons of videos of the arson. Yeah, there are videos. There's a lot is going to come out of this. And I'll tell you, the most outspoken person that is talking is the chief, the fire chief. She's the one that's spilling the beans. She's got the receipts. She's the one that's been saying, hey, my budget was cut. I repeatedly was screaming, we can't handle this. We can't do this. She was very aware that insurance policies were getting canceled because they were not keeping up with the threshold of safety. The insurance companies knew it. Everybody knew that this was going to happen. This is very, very sad. That certainly doesn't get, I saw her video. Oh yeah, she's very vocal. The fire chief has been very, very vocal. Check JLR investigates. He's got every person that they've arrested for arson, and he's got all the videos. Luckily, the people in the neighborhoods are keeping watch, Michelle. And the one guy had a torch, and the neighbors held him till the police came. He was charged with arson. He's got a rap sheet a mile long. Another lady was from Pennsylvania, a woman camping, said she was camping from Pennsylvania. There's a lot. The last one last night was a car fire. And a lot of these are happening in the homeless camps. So there's a lot going on. We got to keep our eyes open on that. But to get to tonight's story, this was really, this was heartbreaking. This was a heartbreaking story. When this happened in September, I know people that know Judge Mullins. I know a lot of people that knew Judge Mullins. The Kentucky Judicial is a pretty, everybody kind of knows everybody. And, everything I've heard from him is he was a wonderful man. Now, where this occurred in Kentucky is far, far eastern Kentucky. If you can look at the little red dot on the map, that's about in the area where close to where a lot of the real major flooding occurred. But it's down in the mountains. It's Whitesburg, Kentucky. It's close to the Virginia border. It's a beautiful, beautiful area of Kentucky. It's in the mountains. And it's a little in Letcher County. They had one judge, one sheriff, we have what are called like baby court judges, district court judges that do traffic fines, DUIs, little things, misdemeanors. And then we have what are called circuit judges that handle the felonies. So Letcher County, my bad, only had one judge, one district court judge and one circuit court judge. Judge Mullins was the district court judge. Okay, this was on September the 19th. And that's what it looks like. It's beautiful. Okay, and now this is the sheriff, Sheriff Steins. He was a young man. Sheriff Steins had been Judge Mullins's bailiff. Now, in Kentucky, sheriffs are elected positions. So everybody knew Sheriff Steins. He was a bailiff for Judge Mullins. They were friends. Years. We're talking years and years. Judge Mullins had been a judge in this area since 2009. That's Judge Mullins, 54 years old. He was the judge. He was best known for his assistance. Okay, down in this area, I'll give you a little background. This is coal mine country. This is coal mining. And this is back when coal mining was huge. I mean, back in coal mining. So what happened is the coal miners would work in 18-inch seams. I don't know if you've ever been in a coal mine, but they would work in seams. They're called seams, 18-inch seams, this big, where they would crawl. It's horrific. So there was too back then, a big opioid epidemic because of the fact that their bodies were broken from the work that they did. It's not unusual to drive down there and you'll see people come out of the mines and they're all covered in soot, and that's normal at the gas station, anywhere, because they work in the coal mines. And like to get in through the mines, you have to lay down like on this little cart that drives you through the mines. It's crazy. So so Judge Mullins was an advocate for the drug situation and really wanted to help people. So he was known for that. They were friends, very friendly. So what happened on September the 19th? There's Letcher County Courthouse, beautiful little courthouse. And you would notice, like down in London, Kentucky, Whitesburg, Kentucky, any little town in Kentucky that you go into, look at those flower pots. Anywhere you go in town to a little city in Kentucky, there are flowers everywhere. Hanging baskets. There are flowers on the streets. There are plants on the streets. Every little city has potted flowers everywhere. It's a beautiful state. So there's the little courthouse. Now, what we know is this was caught, you guys, on video. This is horrendous. This was caught on video. So if you want to notice, Judge Mullins is still sitting there smoking a cigarette in his office, in his right hand. He's smoking a cigarette. So they still smoke in the offices. It's Kentucky. I think it's funny. He's still smoking. So what happened is these two had gone to lunch that day with a group. And the group said there was nothing unusual about their behavior that day. However, Judge Mullins did make the comment to the sheriff. We'll talk about it in my chambers. Okay, so at 3:00 in the afternoon, Sheriff Steins shows up, went to his chambers. Nobody thinks anything of it because of the fact they're friends. This is Sheriff Steins. He's been a sheriff for decades. We know on the video that Sheriff Steins tries to call his daughter. She doesn't answer. We then see on the video that Judge Mullins, he uses Judge Mullins' phone to call his daughter, and she picked up the phone. We don't know the circumstances of what happened. We do, however, know, and I mean, this video is on YouTube, and it's a horrible video, but I did pick some slides out of it I felt were appropriate enough. So what happens is, this is what happens. As you can see, Sheriff Steins has pulled his weapon and is pointing at Judge Mullins, and he proceeded to unalive Judge Mullins. He shot him there. Then he walked over to the side of the desk and emptied his gun and walked out. So when everybody said active shooter, and nobody knew that Sheriff Steins had done this. And he surrendered to the police on location. Judge Mullins was pronounced dead in his chambers. So as you can tell, I mean, he's caught red-handed. We don't know what happened. However, when he was heard saying, Sheriff Steins was heard saying, they were going to kidnap my wife and daughter. What? Who's they? What's going on? This is a little town of 2,000. There was a lot going on. Let me tell you what was going on. I don't know if I got any more pictures. That's a horrible picture to keep up. Okay, there he is at his arraignment. So what was going on? 3 days prior to this lunch, Sheriff Steins was in a deposition testimony. Apparently, Judge Mullins's bailiff was in trouble for performing SA on female inmates in the judge's chambers. What would happen is, if the girls could not afford an ankle monitor and the ankle monitoring device, it was like $350 a month. If they gave out favors to the judge's bailiff, they wouldn't have to pay. So there were 2 victims. Allegedly, there were 3. 2 victims. 1 has since passed away. But at that deposition testimony, one of the victims stated that she saw tapes of Judge Mullins doing some weird things in his chambers as well. So this is all ongoing. It's an ongoing investigation. So Sheriff Steins was called in for the deposition because of the fact it was one of his bailiffs. Doesn't mean that he was not accused of doing anything. And neither was Judge Mullins. Neither one of them were accused. But the attorney that took the deposition said his demeanor was off. It was off. You know, it was odd. So in his arraignment, he has pled not guilty. He has pled not guilty. We don't know why. We don't know if it was, highly emotional, something happened. We don't know. We won't know until this trial comes up exactly. We do know that he was caught red-handed. Right there he is, right there on tape, on videotape. And the reason, what's funny about this is the reason that this camera was put in Judge Mullins' chambers is because of the fact of what had happened with the case of the bailiff and the women, the prisoners. Oh, look at that. In the back of his office, he's got a coal miner. He's got a mining quilt. So see, it's mining country. So that's what occurred. So now we've got him pleading not guilty in a town of 2,000 people. So, of course, everybody was distraught at the funeral and because of Judge Mullins. But as you can imagine, this little town in Whitesburg, which, like I said, it's right on the Virginia border, um, the rumor mill has gone crazy from the fact that Judge Mullins was messing around with sheriff's daughter. That has been debunked and denied. The judge did not have the daughter's phone number in his phone. There's a lot been, like you say, if it's on the internet, you can't believe it, but there's a lot of things you can believe on the internet. That's been debunked. We don't know. They're being very tight-lipped. But the attorney that took the sheriff's deposition said, you're basically going to know the timing was all with this deposition. So whatever possibly maybe would have come out in this deposition testimony, is that what set the sheriff into a rage? This was one of his buddies. Nobody has the right to take someone else's life. But what happened? What triggered him? What triggered Sheriff Steins? What was this? It's freaking crazy. So this is going to be an interesting trial that, like I said, this happened in September. The arraignment just occurred. Of course, he was not given any bond, naturally. But we got an upcoming trial. This is going to go into trial because he's claiming not guilty. So we're going to see what happens. How are they going to find a jury of 2,000 people in Letcher County that everybody knows who the sheriff is? I know everybody where I live knows who the sheriff is. The sheriff is like the top dog of every county in Kentucky. They're like idolized, the sheriff. And everybody knows all the judges as well. So where are they going to go? Anywhere in this area and surrounding areas. Because, well, they could go to Pikeville. There's a city that's fairly large called Pikeville in Kentucky that they could probably find a jury that doesn't know them. But boy, the mountains talk. I'm just saying. The mountains know. The mountains have secrets. I'm telling you. It's crazy. It's weird. So I thought maybe the astrology, as always, can give us a little bit of insight. The event chart, I took the time of course, of the video. So naturally, the event chart said, oh, yeah, there was violence and this happened and this happened. We got, okay, the event chart told us. And I'll show you the event chart. But I'm going to tell you what. The judge's natal chart and the transits that he had going on that day will blow your mind. I was blown. If I would have looked at this chart of somebody with these transits, I would have said, just be kind of careful today. Don't get yourself into a situation where things could get out of control. It was his chart wait till you see his chart. It is a time bomb. It's crazy. So let me show you the event chart because the event chart is a pretty standard event chart that we always look at. Linda says, I do not understand through confessions can plead not guilty. Not insanity. Insanity. Not guilty through crazy plea. Which, not so sure he wasn't. Look at his actions. They were friends. What happened? Okay, so this is just the event chart. And like you guys know, we use it, what's called an event chart. I used the 3 o'clock time. And the victim is Judge Mullins, who is it's a rising Capricorn. The ruler of Capricorn would be Saturn in the second house and the moon. That's Judge Mullins. We go over to the sheriff, who is represented by Cancer, which would be the moon. So they're both ruled by the moon. So sure enough, when we look at the moon, it goes right up to Venus. So this has to do with female, something to do with female. Law enforcement. It's up in that 10th house. 10th house is law enforcement, out in the open, what's seen. Libra is up there ruling that house and that midheaven, which is the law. So it's the chart's telling us everything. It's telling us everything. So if you look closer at this, what's funny is all at the end of the matter and all this swirling, the moon is in Aries. Aries is impulsive. This was impulsive. Uranus is triggered by the sun. The sun is up at the midheaven. This was an out of control. Mars is hitting the judge from the 7th house, which is where the perp is, describes how he was. We got Jupiter in there in excess. We've got the sun shining a light. What's funny is the sun is shining a light down to Neptune, which is filming. Remember what was said at that deposition. The girl said she saw Judge Mullins on a film. Do you think that that's what it was? I don't know, but that the astrology is telling us there was film, video. Video is Neptune. That could also be the video at the office. However, that video is quincunx up to Venus. So it has to do with a woman. Uranus is triggered all over this chart. Look at that. If you look at Uranus, which is 1, 2, 3, in the 5th chart, in the 5th house, look at all the lines that are coming out of Uranus is just triggered, which is just out of control. It's a very triggered type of a chart. Oh, and one other thing is Pluto. Pluto is sitting right in the ascendant. Remember, you guys, when Pluto or Saturn, usually Pluto is sitting in the ascendant, that means this occurred right in front of the victim. So the attack and the unaliving is right in the victim's face. It's right at them, which we saw that. So we got Pluto up there. And then we've got the female. It has to do with the female. Something about a female. So we'll have to wait and really, really watch this. Maybe, watch this trial to get this. But the interesting chart, I'll wait till you all see this. This one blew my mind. This is the judge's natal chart. Now I'm going to have to explain it to you because let me try to make it bigger. I'm going to make it bigger. All right, we're going to look at the judge. Now, as you know, this is his natal chart. I didn't have a time, so I used noon. Okay, this is the judge's natal chart, and the transits are the green planets, what are transits? Transits are the planets in real time on September 19th, what they were doing around his natal chart. Remember, his natal chart is not moving. That's what he was born with. He was born a Cancer. He was born a rising Virgo, moon in Pisces in the 7th house. I see, a lot of attorneys and judges have moons in Libra, which is the 7th house ruler, law. So he's got his moon is in the 7th house. Okay, that's his natal chart. We can go on and on about his natal chart. He loved power. Look at that, Pluto on the ascendant. But let's look at his natal chart. So we're going to talk about what was transiting that day. Now, you guys know that I've said it 1,000 times that the lunar nodes are always triggered in a death chart. Okay. The transiting north node, which is up in Aries, which is fiery to begin with, okay? That it's up in the 8th house of death. North node is up in the 8th house. It is squaring his natal sun, okay? Mars is squaring his natal Chiron, bodily injury. Venus is conjunct his natal Jupiter. So whatever Venus would be the female or a relationship conjunct Jupiter, it's getting blown out of proportion. Something is going to be blown up. Something is going to be, made, it's just going to be can be exaggerated. Mars is also conjunct his sun. We got Mars is crazy. Uranus is squaring the south node. South node is loss. Okay. Uranus, where is Uranus? 1, 2, 3. I don't know where I'm seeing that, but I wrote it down. Oh, okay, I see it. Uranus is squaring, kind of squaring. It's wide. It's wide. Transit Mars is square his south node. South node is loss. The moon is in Aries. Again, it's just fire all over. His natal south node, the transit south node is conjunct his natal Uranus. So again, you can see how easily the lunar nodes are just lit up. Oh, another thing. This is the 4th chart I have looked at. There's 4 now. That when Pluto ingressed into Aquarius, either in the 6th or the 7th house. Usually they're the 7th houses. They're leaving the 6th house and going into the 7th. But it's either 6th or 7th house down here. The person has passed away. I have no clue. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. But it's the 4th one I've seen now. That when oh crap, wait. When Pluto, yikes. When Pluto moved, see Pluto's circled in green, moved into Aquarius, right sitting at that angle. And that occurred in June. And then, of course, Pluto retrograded back, if you remember, and it hit again around our election time. And then it moved forward. So in June, there were 2 deaths that I'm very aware of, where it went from the 5th house into the 6th house. Well, that was the 6th house of the judge's house of health. His day-to-day, his job, or his house of health. And Pluto was getting ready to crack into that 6th house. 4th one I've seen now. It's crazy. So that is that chart. Do you guys have anything to say? You guys are being awful quiet about this case. Do you have anything more to say about this? It's a very sad, sad case. Hi, Lois. How are you, hon? I hope you're doing well. Hi, Kathy. I hope everybody's doing well tonight. What are your thoughts, you guys? What do you think? What do you think happened? Now, remember, these 2 were really good friends. Has anybody heard any other gossip regarding this case? It's crazy, isn't it? Do you guys have any thoughts on it? It's a very sad case because you know darn well that both of these families know one another. The judge's family and the sheriff's family, they all know each other. It is it's a wild one. I agree, Linda. It's very interesting. This is going to be one of those trials, I think, that's going to occur probably spring, summer coming up. Because how much evidence do you really need to collect? The videotape. It's going to be a lot of secrets are going to really come out of the woodwork. Really, it was Tammy said it's the first I really heard about it. Back in the fall, back in September, Tammy, it was all over the news. It was everywhere. But now things are, everybody's being a little tight-lipped about the trial. The trial's going to get moved. They have to get a new venue. They have to. How can they pick a jury from that little town? I don't know. So, and of course, Sheriff Steins has resigned. He's in jail. He has to resign. But it's really, and Denise is trying to keep up with all the info. It's interesting, isn't it, Denise? Sometimes in forensic astrology, a natal chart with transits will give us a huge bit of information. Sometimes it will not. His birth chart, though, even without a time of birth, told us everything we needed to know. It was just one of those charts, kind of like when that person looked at Princess Diana's chart and said, under no circumstances are you to go on this trip, Diana. Do not go to France. Her astrologer told her that. Now, that's pretty strong. And if somebody told me, don't go, I wouldn't go. This chart, if he would have called me that day and I would have looked at him, I would have said, just be very, very careful. Situations can get out of control very, very quickly. But who in heaven's name, when you just have had lunch with your friend, would ever imagine that they would take you out? Was he being blackmailed? Was he being blackmailed? I heard about it, but I didn't know the inside scoop about the bailiff and the girls. Yeah. Was he, was the sheriff told to be quiet? I mean, it will be interesting to find out how the women were connected, known to everyone. Well, this is what is very interesting about this. In Kentucky, they have what's called a criminal mediation. No kidding. It's called criminal mediation. So, sheriff, I don't know if a homicide goes with this or not. But in other words, a victim can go. They go in front of mediation in front of a retired judge. Okay, so both sides, talk to the judge. Both sides get to tell their side of the story. They go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, I don't know if they can do that in this case because it was a murder. I'm not sure. Mediation in the state of Kentucky is very, very big. It cuts down on hearing times. It helps the victims. It helps the judges' calendars. Mediation is a very good tool. Now, I don't know if this will occur for this case, but the bailiff who was SAing the women got mediation. He got mediation. And the case that's going on now with that particular bailiff is the civil portion of it for money. It's the civil portion. He did, I believe he did his time and his probation, I think. But what's going on now is the civil case. So this was a civil case. It wasn't even the criminal case was taken care of through mediation. This was the civil portion that Sheriff Steins had to go and testify at a deposition. Depositions are not fun. They're mean. They're nasty. They're not fun at all. They're hours and hours long, and they're mean. They're not mean, but they can be. They try to trick you. They try to trip you up. And they can be very nerve-wracking. Depositions are very nerve-wracking. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to keep up with this. It might be worth revisiting this case after the trial and sentencing. Oh, I'm going to watch this trial. I'll keep you guys updated on the trial. And I'll let you know when the trial is occurring. So if you want to tune in, I love to tune into trials. I just like the law. I love the legal aspect of everything. So I listen to trials all the time. All the time. I'm always tuning into trials. After work, on my way home, on video, I'm always listening to trials. They intrigue me. So, but that is that case, you guys. We're going to keep up with it. I think next week I'm going to cover a case out in Montana. This occurred in November. It's another horrific case, a DV case, where the victim, another confession. We have a confession. Where is the victim? He says that he put her in a dumpster. She can't be found. He said he put her in a suitcase in a dumpster. These are horrific crimes. So I'm going to look at that next week, and we'll look at the astrology on that next week too, and see what we can find out. That's in Montana. That's an interesting case. That just happened in November as well. We'll keep up with anything else if it breaks during the week. We're on top of it. You guys know that. Now, remember, too, you guys, if you're interested in any kind of astrology, come and join my astrology group on Facebook. It's called Astrology, the Series. It's a private group. You can ask to be invited and ask Linda, ask Denise and Tammy. We talk astrology. We get together on Saturdays and go over things on charts. We learn astrology. And so we're charting and we're busy at it. And we talk astrology, and I post astrology. So if you're interested in astrology and you're interested in how it works, please join our group. We have a great group, don't we, girls? Facebook Astrology, the Series. I would love to have you. Which one, Lois? The suitcase in Montana? That's a weird one. I got to look up what suitcase is, because I have a book. I'll show you the book next week that I look up the planet like suitcase. If I want to look up what luggage or suitcase is, it's called the rulership book. For example, suicide is Uranus in the 12th house or Pluto in the 8th house. So everything in this book, I look up. Everything. It's called the rulership book. So I'm going to have to look up luggage and landfill. And that's where he said she's at, in a landfill. They can't find her. So I'll get the info on that, and we'll cover that one next week. But until then, you guys, like I said, if you're interested in the fires, check out JLR. He's on top of it. Well, thanks, Denise. Learning lots. We have a good time, don't we, girls? So join us in the group. I'd love to have you. Suitcase. Okay, a backpack or a purse would be Venus. I don't know about a suitcase. I have to look it up. Now, when I looked up, if you all recall, the little boy that was down on the Gulf in Texas, that went missing. That was the mystery. That young, good-looking little college boy that was in the water purifier stuff. I looked that up, and sure enough, it matched on the chart with his case too. So I'll look it up. Well, you guys are more than welcome. Well, you guys have a great week. Stay warm if you're in the oh, that's so sweet. I love doing it. We have a good time. If you're in this cold snap, whatever. I don't know what's going on here. I mean, we normally have between 3 and 4 inches of snow a month is our average. We are at 19 inches right now. That's our average, 3 to 4 inches a month. And we're at 19 inches. What? What's going on? It's 0 degrees out. What's going on? I don't like this. Where's the global warming? I want it. I want it. Well, you guys, if you're in this cold snap or in this snow belt, stay safe. And I will see everybody next week. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Don't forget to hit that like button. And we will be back next Wednesday at 8 p.m. for another mystery. So we'll keep an eye on the sheriffs, and have a great week, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. Be safe.